When the Whittaker family story first went viral, no one imagined it would become one of the most talked about social media sagas of the decade. Millions of people watched their story. The raw emotion, the family's closeness, and the haunting honesty of their lives in awed. West Virginia people cried, people donated, and people cared. But while the internet focused on the family's unique life, another story began brewing behind the scenes, one not about fame or views, but about money. By early 2024, two names were tied closely to the Whittakers' growing YouTube fame. Eric Carroll, the man managing their online presence, and Patrick, the family's friend who filmed, transported, and often defended them online together. They built the Whittaker Family YouTube channel, a space that became both a lifeline and a lightning rod. As the views climbed, the money started flowing: ads, memberships, donations, the kind of numbers that could change the family's life. But along with the success came questions: who controlled the money? And did Betty or the family ever actually receive any of it? The promise that started it all. In the early days, Eric allegedly made a clear deal with Patrick and the family. The money earned from the Whittaker Family YouTube channel would be divided three ways. 1/3 for Eric, for editing, management, and handling taxes. 1/3 for Patrick, for filming, travel, and time spent helping the family. 1/3 for the Whittakers, directly for Betty, Larry, and BJ to use however they needed. It was a handshake-style agreement built on trust, shared goals, and friendship. At least that's how it started. As the channel exploded in popularity, this verbal agreement became the foundation of everything. The public assumed that the viral success meant the Whittakers were finally seeing some of the money their story generated. After all, the channel had millions of views and loyal followers who watched every new upload. But when people began to ask how much the family was getting, no one could give a straight answer. The $20,000 question. YouTube pays its creators around the 21st of every month through AdSense, the advertising platform that deposits money based on video performance around that time. Estimates show that the Whittaker Family channel had earned anywhere between $45,000 and $50,000 in one cycle. Patrick had even mentioned that before he lost access to the account, he'd seen the dashboard sitting at about $30,000, and that was before the last few high-view uploads. That payment, however, went directly to Eric's account. He was the official owner of the AdSense and the YouTube channel, and according to Patrick, Eric promised to split it later, once taxes and fees were accounted for. But that split never came. Weeks went by, then months. Patrick reportedly messaged Eric multiple times, asking when the payment would be handled. He was told soon, but soon never arrived. By the time rumors began swirling on social media, Patrick was publicly claiming that he and Betty were owed over $20,000 in total. That number quickly became a rallying cry across comment sections and live streams. And for Betty, who had almost nothing at this point, that money represented more than dollars. It represented trust. It represented the promise that her story, her family struggles, meant something to the people who filmed it. Confusion and silence. When fans started asking for transparency, things got quiet. Eric stopped addressing the subject completely. Patrick became distant online. Betty had no idea what was happening or what was true. Meanwhile, viewers who once supported both men started to divide and decide. Some said Eric was handling the money responsibly and that Patrick was stirring drama. Others said Patrick was right, that Eric was withholding money that didn't belong to him. Even among supporters, the story didn't add up. Eric had previously said he was managing the funds for the family's care and future needs, but when pressed for receipts or proof, nothing was shown. No transaction screenshots, no PayPal statements, not even a written agreement confirming how the money was meant to be divided. Patrick, on the other hand, admitted that he had lost full access to the YouTube channel, and with it, any ability to verify how much was being earned or spent. He told his audience plainly, "I don't have the login, I can't see the account, I can't post or check revenue. I don't know where the money is, I just know it's not in my hands. And it's not in Betty's. That statement hit like a bomb. Followers who had donated money and watched the channel for years began demanding answers. Eric speaks briefly. Eventually, Eric went live to address what he called the nonsense rumors, he said. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I've been managing this responsibly. Nobody's owed anything. I've done more for that family than anyone. He argued that the funds were being used to maintain vehicles, housing, and supplies for the family, that nothing was being hidden, and that he didn't owe anyone a dime. But the live stream ended abruptly when questions began pouring and he gave no proof, no details, and no breakdown of the alleged spending. That silence, the refusal to show transparency, only made things worse. Patrick, meanwhile, began receiving messages of support from viewers who believed him. Some called it theft, others said it was just a business dispute gone wrong. But to those who'd followed the Whittaker family's journey from the start, it felt like something much deeper, a betrayal of the trust that made this story powerful in the first place. A broken trust. Patrick and Betty weren't just co-workers or collaborators. They were people bound by the shared mission of giving the Whittaker family a voice. The channel wasn't just entertainment. It was supposed to be their lifeline. And now, it seemed that lifeline had been cut. Betty, sitting on her porch in her usual quiet way, didn't say much when asked about it later, according to someone close to the family. All she said was, "I thought we was working together. I thought we was friends." That sentence, soft but weighted, captured what so many followers were feeling. This wasn't just a money problem, it was a moral one. How could something that began as a story about family and connection turn into a feud over YouTube money? How could the people who said they wanted to help end up fighting over thousands of dollars while the family sat waiting for a visit or a check that never came? It was, as one follower put it, the saddest twist in an already heartbreaking story. What do you think? Was Eric justified in keeping the money to handle taxes and family expenses? Or do you believe Betty and Patrick were right to demand their share? Let me know how you feel about this situation. Do you think this was a misunderstanding or was something more intentional? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell me what side of this story makes sense to you. When the rumors about missing YouTube money started circling online, people assumed it was just another misunderstanding, something that could be cleared up with a few screenshots or a calm explanation. But then came the leaks. Private messages, voice clips, and screenshots began surfacing across Facebook groups, Reddit threads, and livestream comment sections. Some came from viewers who claimed to have spoken directly with Patrick. Others appeared to come from people who'd once worked with Eric. What they revealed wasn't just about missing money. It was about manipulation, broken trust, and two men caught in a web of greed and pride that spun far beyond the Whittaker family story. The first message leak. The first leaked messages appeared one late night in a private Facebook group dedicated to tracking updates about the Whittakers. A user posted a series of screenshots that appeared to show a conversation between Patrick and another content creator. In the screenshots, Patrick allegedly wrote, "Eric told me the payment was coming last week. Then he said the taxes hadn't cleared, yet I don't care about taxes. I care about what's fair. Betty's waiting on her money. I'm waiting on mine, and all I'm getting are excuses." The tone was calm, but the frustration was obvious. In another message, Patrick added, he said he was in a split it after expenses, but I've asked 3 times how much was actually made, and he won't say, just keeps saying he's got proof, but never shows it. The comments under that post exploded. Supporters, angry and confused, demanded answers if this is real. One wrote, "Eric's been playing them," and others said, "If Patrick's lying, where are Eric's receipts? Show the proof, not the promises." What made the leak hit even harder was the date on the messages, the week after YouTube's payout. That meant Patrick had been asking for answers immediately, not months later, not after drama started, but right when the money should have landed. Eric sighed, the tax excuse. When confronted in comments and DMs, Eric reportedly told multiple people that the money wasn't ready yet. He blamed the delay on tax forms, account verifications, and YouTube's processing time. One viewer who messaged him said, Eric replied, "I'm the one who's legally responsible for that channel. I can't just send money out without making sure the IRS doesn't come after me. That's not how this works." It sounded logical enough, at least to people who didn't understand how YouTube payments function. But the truth was simpler. YouTube sends payments once a month, directly to the account holder's bank. There's no processing delay. Once it's been paid, taxes aren't deducted automatically, but neither are they withheld by YouTube. If Eric had the funds, they were in his hands already. The only question was whether he had any intention of splitting them. The deleted call. Then came the audio. A short, 30-second clip began circulating, allegedly recorded from a phone call between Patrick and someone close to him. The voice, clearly Patrick, said, "He's got it. I saw the statement. Before he locked me out $50,000, even said he'd send my cut when he got around to it. It's been 3 weeks. Man, I ain't heard nothing. He's ghosting me now." The clip spread quickly. YouTubers made reaction videos. Commenters dissected every word, and Eric's silence became deafening. He didn't address it publicly. He didn't post. He didn't deny. He just disappeared for almost 2 weeks. During that time, Patrick started receiving both sympathy and harassment. Some accused him of clout chasing. Others told him to file a lawsuit. And in the middle of all that noise, one voice broke through the chaos. Betty's. Betty speaks. Betty rarely talks on camera without Patrick or someone else guiding her. But one evening, during a brief appearance on a local live stream, she looked directly into the phone camera and said softly, "Patrick told me we'd get something from a YouTube. I ain't seen it, not a penny. I don't know why, I just know her ain't come round since." It was a simple statement, but it landed like a hammer. Viewers flooded the chat with heartbreak emojis and angry comments. It wasn't just the money anymore. It was the sense that this family, already vulnerable, had been used. Patrick goes live. A few days later, Patrick finally went live on Facebook. His tone was calm, but you could tell he was holding back anger. "I ain't trying to start drama," he said. "I just want what's fair. I worked, I filmed, I gave my time, and Betty deserves her part. One don't care what he says about taxes. He's got that money. I seen it with my own eyes, but every time I ask, he gets defensive or disappears." He paused for a long moment, then added, "This whole thing was supposed to help them. That was the goal, not to fill anybody's pockets, not to turn into this circus." Thousands of people watched that live, and many commented that it was the first time they'd seen Patrick visibly emotional. Some said he looked hurt. Others said he looked like a man who'd finally reached his limit. The receipts debate. Shortly after Patrick's live, someone claiming to be a former moderator for Eric's YouTube channel posted in another group. They said they had seen the AdSense dashboard and confirmed that Eric had indeed received just under $50,000 for that payment cycle. They even described the balance, the payout date, and the country code for the deposit. "I worked with him. I saw it. The money was there. He told me it was going to be split later, but then everything changed. He started locking people out of the accounts, changing passwords, and ghosting the team." Once again, the internet lit up. If this was true, Eric had deliberately taken control of everything, silencing anyone who could question him, and leaving Patrick and Betty in the dark. Eric's defenders tried to fight back. They said there were fake screenshots and edited messages, but no one could produce a single piece of evidence to disprove what Patrick and others had shared. The contract problem. As the story unraveled, one painful truth became clear. There was no written contract. Patrick later admitted that their agreement had been verbal. There were no official papers, no signed statements, nothing legally binding to prove that money was owed. "We trusted him," Patrick said in another post. We didn't think it had to be written down. It was supposed to be about helping people, not business. Without a contract, there was little anyone could do legally. Eric, as the channel owner, had every technical right to the funds, even if morally the public felt otherwise. That revelation crushed many supporters. They had donated, shared, and promoted the family story under the assumption that the Whittakers were benefiting directly. Now, it looked like they might not have seen a dime. Social media turns. By this point, #PayBetty was trending across small online communities. Viewers began demanding that Eric show proof of payment. A few even reached out to YouTube support team, though they quickly discovered that YouTube doesn't get involved in payment disputes between creators. Meanwhile, Patrick began to receive messages from people offering help, some even offering to send money directly to Betty, but he turned most of it down. "It's not about new donations," he said. "It's about accountability. You can't just take people's story, use it for content, and then walk away." It was becoming more than just a feud between two men. It was about how far content creation could go before it crossed the line into exploitation. Eric's return. After almost 3 weeks of silence, Eric finally returned online. He went live briefly, looking tired but defiant. "Everybody wants to talk about money. Y'all don't know what goes into this. You think it's all checks and payouts. But there's work, real work, travel, equipment, editing, people to pay. You think I pocketed everything? You have no idea." He denied the accusations directly, saying he'd spent a large part of the money on production expenses and family needs. But when viewers asked for proof, he refused to share any. "I don't know social media, my bank statements," he said sharply. "I don't have to explain every dollar I spend. I've been transparent with the people who matter." That line, "the people who matter," angered a lot of fans to them. The people who mattered were Betty and Patrick, and it seemed those were the two he'd cut out completely. Patrick's breaking point. A few days after Eric's live, Patrick posted one final message before disappearing from social media for a while. "This broke me," he wrote. "I believed in what we were doing. I believed we were making a difference. Now I just feel used. Betty don't deserve this. None of them do. We started with good hearts, but money changes people." Those words marked the end of their partnership and the beginning of a divide that still hasn't been repaired. As the dust settled, fans were left wondering, what really happened to that $20,000? Was it hidden? Spent? Justified somehow? No one knows for sure, but the damage is done. Trust is gone. The family is still struggling, and what was once a story about compassion has become a warning about what happens when kindness meets control and money takes over. How do you feel about what's been revealed so far? Do you think Eric was being unfairly judged? Or do you believe Patrick and Betty's side of the story? Do verbal promises hold the same weight as contracts when trust is involved? Share your thoughts below, because the truth, as always, lies somewhere between what's said and what's shown. As the online tension reached its breaking point, Eric Carroll finally decided to speak, really speak. After nearly a month of silence, he scheduled a live stream that he called Setting the Record Straight. It was supposed to end the rumors, calm the chaos, and re-establish his reputation. But instead, it opened up new wounds, deepened divisions, and revealed a darker side to the story that no one had expected. Eric's live stream, the confident denial. The live stream started with Eric sitting at his desk, visibly tired but composed. His tone was steady, deliberate, as if he had rehearsed every line. "There's been a lot of lies spread about me," he began. "A lot of people saying I stole from Betty or Patrick. That's not true. Every dollar that came through the YouTube account was accounted for." He insisted that he hadn't pocketed anything. He said the funds had been reinvested into the project, camera upgrades, travel expenses, repairs, supplies, and most importantly, helping the family with day-to-day costs. "I've got receipts," he said, holding up a folder. "I'm not showing them online because that's nobody's business, but the right people have seen them." The right people. That phrase made chat rooms explode. Viewers began demanding specifics. Who were these right people? Was Betty one of them? Was Patrick? Eric scrolled through comments, clearly irritated by the constant flood of questions. I'm not here to debate. I'm here to make this clear. Nobody owes Patrick or Betty 20 grand. That's a made-up number, and it's being spread by people who are bitter they lost access to a channel they didn't build. But the audience wasn't buying it. For every supporter cheering him on, there are dozens more asking for proof, screenshots, emails, any documentation. He gave none. And when someone commented, Betty said she never got a penny, Eric's response only made things worse. Betty doesn't handle the finances. She doesn't understand how the business side works. I've been helping her for years. If I stopped tomorrow, she'd have nothing. That sentence hit the internet like a thunderclap. To Eric, it might have sounded like justification, but to everyone else, it sounded like control. Patrick fires back. Within hours of Eric's live stream ending, Patrick posted a response video, shaky, emotional, and filmed from his car. His tone was raw. You say she doesn't understand? That woman's been surviving her whole life. Without your help, she don't need you to tell her she's helpless. He paused, rubbing his temples. You say the money's accounted for. Show if you've got receipts. Show them. Don't hide behind excuses. People donated because they believed in the family, not because they believed in you. Patrick went on to explain that he had personally helped with the content that earned the views, the interviews, the drives to town, the cleanup days, the updates. We were out there in the cold, helping clean that house, feeding those dogs, fixing things up. I did that because I cared, not because I wanted fame. But now you're sitting there acting like you built it all alone. You didn't. You just collected the money. It wasn't polished or professional, but it was honest, painfully honest. Within 24 hours, Patrick's video had been re-uploaded and shared hundreds of times. The public was now fully divided. The internet's courtroom. At this point, the Whittaker family story had morphed into something else entirely. An online court case. Viewers became detectives, journalists, and judges all at once. People began analyzing video timestamps, matching upload dates with YouTube's payout cycles, and even calculating approximate earnings using ad revenue calculators. One Reddit thread estimated that the Whittaker family channel had likely earned around $120,000 total since its creation, money that was supposed to be helping the family. Others dug into property records, donation receipts, and Facebook fundraiser histories. They found inconsistencies everywhere. One user wrote, Eric said he paid for repairs, but there's no sign of any actual renovation. The house still looks the same. Where did that money go? Another pointed out, if the goal was to help the family, why are there so few updates showing actual improvements in their living conditions? The public outrage wasn't just about transparency, it was about morality. Even if Eric had used the money for expenses, the fact that Betty and Patrick had to beg for updates, while Eric stayed silent, felt deeply wrong. Behind a curtain, the team speaks out. As the debate raged, a few people who had once worked with Eric behind the scenes started to speak up. One, a former volunteer editor, came forward with his own experience. I stopped working with him because of the money stuff. The man said in a live stream interview, I didn't see where the money was going. We were supposed to be paid a small amount for editing clips, but the payment stopped after a few months. When I asked, I got blocked. Another person, who said they'd help coordinate early fundraisers for the family, claimed that communication between Eric and others had become impossible after the first big payout. He started locking everyone out. Nobody could post, nobody could check the analytics, nobody could see where the donations were going. It was like he wanted full control. This only added fuel to the fire. Supporters began demanding YouTube investigate. Some even emailed news outlets, trying to get mainstream attention, but there were no legal grounds for intervention. Eric still technically owned the channel. Betty's silence. Through all of it, Betty remained mostly silent. She didn't post, she didn't comment, and she didn't go live. Those close to her said she was tired of it all. The noise, the fighting, the cameras, she just wanted peace. But even in her silence, she became the emotional center of the story every time someone said Eric owes Betty. It wasn't just about money anymore, it was about dignity. This was a woman who had spent her entire life with little to her name, whose family story had brought the internet to tears. And yet, after all the fame, she still sat in that same small house, living with the same struggles. To viewers, it felt cruel, it felt unfair. Eric's final defense. About a week later, Eric posted one final response, a long Facebook statement that read more like a press release than an apology. He wrote, "I've been doing this for years. I've dedicated more time and energy to this family than anyone else, as everything I've done has been out of compassion. Not greed. The accusations are false. Every expense was for their benefit. I won't let a mob dictate how I help people." He ended it with a defiant line. "You can't steal what's already yours." That sentence became infamous overnight. To many, it confirmed what they already suspected, that Eric believed the money was his, regardless of any promises made. Patrick responded simply with one sentence on his page. The man just said it out loud. The fallout. In the weeks that followed, communication between Eric and the family completely stopped. He continued posting content sporadically, while Patrick focused on helping Betty in smaller, quieter ways. Fans noticed the difference. Patrick's updates felt human. Simple videos of Betty sitting outside, BJ feeding the dogs, or Ray waving from the porch. No editing tricks, no monetized thumbnails, just moments of real life. Those clips reminded people of what they had loved in the first place. Meanwhile, Eric's uploads slowed down, view counts dropped, comment sections were filled with questions about the missing money, and many viewers unsubscribed entirely. What had once been a community built on empathy had turned into a battlefield of accusations, bitterness, and lost trust. The family at the center. Lost in all the noise was the family itself. Betty still faced issues with her home being deemed unsafe. BJ struggled with daily needs. Their world, the one people thought YouTube money would change, remained largely the same. One supporter who visited the family later described what she saw. "There's no sign of $50,000 here. The house looks like it always has." Betty said she hasn't heard from Eric. She looked tired, but she smiled when I gave her a card. It broke my heart. That moment summed up everything wrong with this situation. How easily compassion can turn into content, and how quickly people can forget that behind every viral video is a real person living with the consequences. What do you think about all this? Do you believe Eric's explanation that the money went toward expenses, or do you think Patrick's side, that the family was simply cut out, tells the real story? Have we reached a point where helping on camera has become more about profit than purpose? Share your feelings. Do you think trust like this can ever be rebuilt, or once broken, is it gone forever? Months have passed since the controversy over the YouTube money erupted, but the echoes of that fallout still hang heavy over the Whittaker family. What started as a story of compassion, community, and awareness has now become one of mistrust, silence, and loss. And though the videos still exist online, hundreds of thousands of views and comments deep, the heart that once beat behind them feels all but gone. The quiet that followed. After Eric's final post and Patrick's short response, something unusual happened. Everyone went quiet. The live streams stopped, the back-and-forth posts disappeared, and the once bustling online community that had built itself around the Whittakers slowly began to fragment. Supporters who had spent months debating, defending, or condemning now found themselves exhausted. Even the people who once volunteered to help clean Betty's home or send supplies grew unsure of who to trust. Without transparency, rumors filled the void. Some said Eric had moved on to new projects. Others claimed he was still collecting money off the old videos. Patrick, meanwhile, retreated into silence, sharing only occasional updates about his recovery and short check-ins about Betty's condition. Betty herself, people said, seemed lonelier than ever. Betty's 30 days. Not long after the controversy quieted down, new whispers began circulating online about the county's involvement and Betty being given a final 30-day notice to bring her home up to code or face removal. The same home that had become a viral symbol of resilience was now on the verge of being condemned. The heartbreaking irony wasn't lost on anyone who'd followed the story from the beginning. The world had watched the family's life online, but the help that was supposed to come never truly reached them. Those who visited the area described a sense of sadness hanging over the property. A neighbor recalled, "She just sits on the porch, looking out at the road. She still asks about Patrick sometimes, and if the money ever came, she doesn't talk about Eric." Her words are few these days, but those who've heard her speak say her tone has changed, still kind, still soft, but with a hint of resignation. "I don't want no trouble," she reportedly said to one visitor. "I just want things to go back to how they were before all this." Patrick's return. Weeks later, Patrick resurfaced. Briefly online, his leg had healed, and his voice carried the weary tone of someone who'd learned too many lessons too fast. He uploaded a short video, sitting in his truck, the camera slightly tilted, his eyes tired but determined. "I ain't here to drag anybody. I'm not doing that again. I just want people to know that Betty's still here. She's okay. But she needs help, real help, not views, not promises, help." He paused for a long time before continuing. "I know people think this is about $20,000, but it's not. It's about doing right by the folks you said you'd stand by. I messed up too. I trusted people I shouldn't have, but that family didn't deserve this." The video wasn't long, but it spread quickly, not because of anger this time, but because of exhaustion. People were done picking sides. They just wanted the truth to mean something again. Eric's silence. Eric, for his part, has stayed mostly out of sight since his final defense post. The Facebook pages that once buzzed with updates are quiet. The YouTube uploads slowed to a trickle. Some of his supporters claim he's simply moved on, that the drama became too toxic. Others believe the silence is guilt. But regardless of motive, the damage is clear. His name, once associated with compassion and community service, is now entangled with accusations of greed and manipulation. Even those who still defend him admit that something feels different now, like the spark that once powered the mission has been smothered under layers of controversy. The family's reality. And what are the Whittakers, the family at the center of it all? Life for them remains largely unchanged. The house, aging and unstable, still stands. The same narrow dirt path leads to it. The same porch creaks beneath tired feet. The GoFundMe campaigns have slowed down. Donations have trickled to almost nothing. The public fascination that once surrounded them has waned. But what's left, the small, quiet group of supporters who continue to care, are the ones keeping the light on. So to speak, they check in, they send letters, they bring supplies, not for a video, not for views, just because they still believe the family deserves better than what they got. A local volunteer who stayed in touch described it best. "People think this story is over because the videos stopped, but Betty still wakes up every day, trying to keep that home. BJ still helps where he can. It's not over for them. Not by a long shot." Lessons in trust. The tragedy of this story isn't just about missing money. It's about what happens when kindness meets ambition. When the drive to help gets tangled with the drive to create. At the beginning, everyone involved claimed to love the family. Maybe they did, but along the way, love turned into business, and business turned into control. The Whittakers didn't ask for viral fame. They didn't ask for live stream debates or lawsuits or contracts. They just wanted help. And the world gave them chaos instead. Now, even if the money was someday found or proven, it wouldn't fix what's been broken, because the real loss wasn't $20,000, it was trust. The internet's guilt. If there's one thing the internet does well, it's amplify emotion, but it doesn't always know how to protect the people it uplifts. When the Whittakers first went viral, millions watched, but few understood what was meant to raise awareness, slowly became spectacle, and as fans divided into sides, they forgot that real people were still living through the fallout. Betty never asked to become a symbol. Patrick never expected to be a villain or a hero. Eric likely never imagined he'd be at the center of a public controversy. Yet here they are, all of them caught in a storm that no one can undo. And maybe that's the saddest part. That's something that started as genuine compassion turned into a cautionary tale about what happens when money, fame, and trust collide. Where it stands now. Today, the YouTube channel still exists, the videos remain up, continuing to earn ad revenue with every click. Whether that money ever makes its way back to the family remains unclear. Patrick occasionally checks in with small updates. Betty still lives in the same house, still waiting for repairs that may never come. BJ does his best to keep things together. Life continues quietly, without cameras, without lights, just as it always did before the internet found them. There are no heroes left in this story. Only people who cared, people who made mistakes, and a family that continues to bear the weight of those choices. Maybe someday the truth will come out fully. Maybe Eric will show proof. Maybe the money will surface, or maybe it never will. But the lesson remains painfully clear. Good intentions aren't enough if honesty doesn't follow. What about you? How does this story make you feel? Do you think this was a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control? Or do you believe the family was taken advantage of? Do you think it's possible to rebuild trust once it's been broken this deeply? Let me know how you feel, because stories like this only remind us that behind every viral moment, there are human lives that still need compassion long after the cameras are gone. Thank you for watching this video. Click here to watch another video that might interest you.